Coming up on Tech News today, has Oracle got a smoking gun on Google? Did they copy stuff into Android? Nilay Patel will be here to tell you. Also, Duke Nukem Forever has a ship date. We still don't believe it will come. And Mozilla's blocking Skype in a way. We'll explain. Coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, January 21st, 2011. Tech News Today brought to you by Ford, introducing the all-new 2012 Ford Focus Electric with voice-activated sync and My Ford Touch, featuring gas-free power, zero CO2 emissions, and battery management technology that lets you go the distance. Learn more at FocusElectricPower.com. And by MailRoute.info. MailRoute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now, absolutely free at MailRoute.info. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show that brings you the freshest tech news we can possibly gather
Citrusy.
from the farmer's market of technology news.
That's good stuff.
And joining us today to help make sense of it all, Natali Morris, news anchor from CNET TV, host of Loaded, and technology contributor for CBS News.
Woot woot.
Friend of the show. How's it going, Natali?
It's good. I'm glad that we can call each other friends. Yeah.
Me too. Also joining us, managing editor for Engadget, Nilay Patel. Great to have you on the show as well.
Hey, thank you for having me. Soon I'll be your friend as well.
Yeah, well...
You're not quite a friend of the show yet.
I've only done TWiT with you, so I didn't want to presume upon that.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not friends, but soon.
Let's just make this clear.
Let's make it clear. He's open to it, Tom.
Currently a foe of the show.
Exactly.
Leave it at that.
You have to earn my trust.
Foe of the show. I had to go through that on TWiT. Now I have to do it on... Damn it.
Yeah.
All right. We got a couple of Google stories to launch, but they're not about Eric Schmidt. In fact, just real quickly, the market seemed to not really care much about Eric Schmidt. All the analysts said, yeah, fine, Eric Schmidt's taking a different role. Larry Page will be fine. Stock market seemed to react ambivalently. The stock didn't go up, but it only went down a little bit. So that seems to be almost a non-story.
I think it just goes to show that nobody really has any idea how the company will change.
Yeah, I think instead of believing that Eric Schmidt's getting forced out, the market is reacting like, well, I guess they are just, I guess they're telling the truth.
Right.
They're just moving some stuff around.
I have some people at Google.
Apple, like where Steve Jobs just doesn't feel well and takes a leave of absence, and we all care, and the market reacts drastically away.
Right, quite a difference there. What were you going to say, Nilay?
Oh, I have a few sources at Google who say that nobody really knew until yesterday, but everyone is super excited.
Oh, that's good.
Because they love Larry Page. So internally within the company, they're all very excited that Larry's in charge now because, one of my sources said he's so much more than just a nerd. So I think they're really expecting him to take like a strong hand with products and kind of improve the overall experience of using Google products because he's going to be very involved in that now.
One of the Google products that is preparing to launch is Google Offers. Mashable learned about this, posted it last night, and then Google just came out and confirmed it. Said, yeah, we're going to do something called Google Offers. It's very much like Groupon or Living Social. Users will receive an email with a local deal of the day. They have the opportunity to buy that deal within a specific time limit. But unlike Groupon and Living Social, it's going to be a tiny bit different because you don't sign up by calling someone and talking to someone on the phone. It's very Google-like. You go on to a form, you put in your details, and then you get put into the queue.
Which, I mean, on one hand, it makes a lot of sense because you don't have to pay all those salespeople that obviously Groupon's model is dependent on. But Google sort of run into this automation robotic trouble before, where when you don't have two humans shaking on it, especially if it's a small business, I don't know. I see there being a little bit of a disconnect.
Well, and Google is not known for good service. I mean, they tend to ignore what happens on their forums and all of that stuff. They have a reputation for that. So I wonder if they've built in something for that. But they also they've got a different kind of payment plan going on. Google will pay out 80% of your business's revenue share 3 days after your deal runs. So whatever business you are, big or small, you can sign up. You'll get 80% within 3 days. They'll hold the remaining 20% for 60 days to cover refunds, and then they'll send you the rest of your share.
I mean,
I think that the more interesting question is one of the things that Jeff Jarvis says in his book, What Would Google Do, is that one of the few things that Google does poorly is local. Local and social are two things that they don't do well. And this is both of those things. So I don't think it matters what the features are. I think they have to think in a grander scale, why can't we do local or social well?
And that's why they wanted to buy Groupon, is because I think they knew that.
Yeah, acquiring a company who's doing something very successfully. But I mean, the Living Social, the offer they had yesterday where you get the $20 Amazon gift card for $10, I mean, pretty much everyone I knew, at least on my Twitter feed, bought into that. In this market, Tom included. If Google can do this even sort of well, the revenue potential is so huge because people just love services like this.
Yeah.
Even if they do it differently than Groupon or Living Social.
Google's version of Groupon is not live yet. There was a ClickZ story going around saying that it was earlier. Google's prepaid vouchers program will be available soon, though, so keep your eye out for it. Another Google story, not so fun for Google, and Nilay, you posted this up on Engadget today. Android, apparently, according to Florian Miller, has directly copied Java code from Sun into Android. Explain what's going on here.
So this is actually, it's much more complicated than I think. I think my headline is a little too simplistic. I'm readying another post here. But so what happened is Oracle sued Google, saying that Java infringed a number of patents and a number of copyrights on Java code. And so now people are really looking at the Android source to find out what's going on. And Florian Mueller is this guy who's been tracking very closely. He runs a site called FOSS Patents, Free and Open Source Patents. And he's sort of a friend of open source, so he's a friendly guy. And basically what he found is that there are some files in the Android repositories that appear to be directly decompiled from Java binaries, and there are some files that appear to be directly copied over. And now, there's some pushback on that today. People are saying, oh, these files aren't actually in Android. Some of them are just test files. I think the bigger issue here is that Google is really mounting a very weak defense to the Oracle lawsuit. And there are all these little instances of things that appear to be copied, where Oracle seems to have a really good case for copyright infringement, which is wholly different than patent infringement. And they're just starting to add up a lot. And so, there's a lot of argument over these particular 37 there's 37 files that have do not copy on them, proprietary, confidential, and there's 7 other files that appear to be decompiled and have the licenses replaced. And copyright liability is pretty strict in terms of, even if these were licensed under like the GPL or something, Google can't. What they've done is they've taken them, they've pasted in another license code on the top and redistribute it under that license. And that creates copyright liability. I mean, fundamentally, all you have to do, and this is ridiculous, this is one of those cases where copyright lags far behind reality in the technical world and stuff like that. But all you have to do is make a copy without authorization. And Oracle can say, well, you were never authorized to take our GPL files and redistribute them under the Apache license, which is what you've done. So, whether or not they're the smoking gun or not, I think is very much up in the air. But there are all these little instances where it looks like Android is taking a little too much from Java, where the relationship isn't we made a clean room version of Java, but it's more like Eric Schmidt was the CTO of Sun, and he kind of knows what Java worked like, and this is way too close. And I think that's going to be a problem for Google in the future. And what I'm hearing is that what Oracle wants in the end is a handset license from Google. So every Android handset gets shipped. You'll have to pay a royalty to Oracle, and that's a big problem.
This points out the weak patent position that Google is in. They don't have a lot of patents, and the patents that they do have, I think there's some 500 patents that they hold, which is dwarfed by Microsoft. Registered 3,000 patents last year alone.
Yeah,
and the patents that Google holds are mostly around search. So the way this system works, a lot of people don't realize, is somebody wants to bring a patent suit against you. You threaten to bring a patent suit against them, and then you try to settle it amicably out of court.
I mean, it's a joke that has become sort of the norm in the industry, and the joke is that patent lawsuits are mutually assured destruction. That Apple can't sue Microsoft for patent infringement because Microsoft will sue Apple, and all of their products will end up off the market. right? So I mean, that's why these companies, huge companies like Apple and Microsoft, reach cross-licensing agreements. That's why, and if you look at the HTC case, Apple sued HTC. HTC basically paid for a patent portfolio. They went to Intellectual Ventures, which is a huge patent holding company. They licensed the entire portfolio, and they're going to sue Apple with it, right? So, I mean, that's how this works. You get to this mutually assured destruction place. Google isn't in that position yet. And very oddly, they haven't countersued Oracle at all for any of their patents. And you think that they would have by now. But they've remained very quiet. I think that their initial response to Oracle's lawsuit essentially points to ongoing patent infringement, because Android is built on Apache's Harmony, which is another version, a variant of Java, another clean room build of Java. And if you look into the history of Harmony and Oracle and Sun and licensing, that is so complicated and convoluted, and it's very clear to everyone that Harmony is not in license compliance with Java and Sun and Oracle. And Google seems to have inherited that by building Android on top of it. So, this case is one little piece. And the hysteria on the web right today is this it? Is Android dead? And I never take that approach. Right? The only person who can make that decision is a judge, right? And so we'll find out. This is going to stretch out for years and years. But I do think that this shows that it's, at least at some level, Google is copying too much. They're taking too much from Java, and either they need to walk that back, or they need to work more constructively with Oracle to clear up that situation, because they have created liability for themselves.
Yeah, and Ryan Paul over at Ars Technica has a good article that kind of goes into detail about what is in these files. And there's, he's saying these files aren't actually used by the Android operating system, and yet they're in there. And that just shows a little bit of sloppiness. And most of this should be a takedown notice, if nothing else. We should also be clear here that
am I still here?
Yeah, you're still there.
Who knows if I'm still here?
At most, Florian
Mueller.
Mueller.
Essential moment for me.
Are you not hearing me?
I wasn't hearing you for a second.
Okay, you're
back.
I
was going to say Ryan's piece is great. I'm actually writing a response to it that'll go up on Engadget later. I think his piece is great. There was a much harsher piece on ZDNet that pointed out much the same things. Very smart analysis going on. What I think these pieces are missing is the legal component, right? So, again, what I'm saying is those might have never made it into Android handsets proper, or they might not be officially part of Android, whatever you want to call that. But at some point, when you take a code that's licensed under one license, you copy it, and you put another license on it without authorization, you've created copyright liability for yourself.
Let's be clear. This is just Florian Mueller finding this stuff. This is actually not part of Oracle's patent and copyright case, at least not yet.
Right.
Not yet.
A lot of times when I talk to hardware manufacturers, they talk, or even software manufacturers, they say, we try not to even look at code of competitors or hardware designs of competitors, because we don't want it even to be possible for us to be accused of copyright infringement.
Right, and that happens all the time. Especially, again, I firmly believe that copyright law is far behind the reality of the world that we live in, where you can copy anything 1,000 times with pushing a button, and it's not there. It doesn't understand that, and that's a problem. But that's a problem you solve in the Congress, right? For Google right now, it's a very concrete, very real problem that these files ended up in their source tree with a different license on them. And what Florian's point is not this is a smoking gun. It's this evidence strengthens Oracle's case, because eventually what they're going to do if they don't settle it right away is they're going to start taking discovery, right? And that's the long, complicated. That's where you kind of win or lose your case.
And that's where they could take something like this or something similar, and it could bolster their case. Absolutely.
Yeah, and without question. And so, it's just one of those things where, look, there's a lot of companies that depend on Google. If you look at Motorola, they've revitalized their entire business. It came back from the dead because of Android, right? And Google needs to essentially provide assurances to their market that they're going to support them when it comes to this kind of liability. And we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen Google say, hold on, HTC, we'll indemnify you against all these patent lawsuits. We have not seen them say, hold on, Motorola, we know you have a lot of patents of your own, but we want to take responsibility for Android and indemnify you against them. They might be doing it behind the scenes, but they're not doing it in a way They're not doing publicly, and they're not doing it in a way that I think provides stability to the entire marketplace.
And if you look at the patent lawsuits out there that are going on, a lot of them are against Android handsets, but against the manufacturers, not against Google. So they are sort of leaving the manufacturers to fight these battles for them. Let's change to a lighter topic. Our long national nightmare is over. Well, it will be May 3rd. If all goes well, Duke Nukem Forever now has a shipping date.
Oh my gosh, Tom! I thought the day would never come. Now, is this a shipping date that we can count on? Because I can't be heartbroken yet again.
But 2K
For
Games
10 years I've
has
cried.
announced an actual release date. Have you cried? Really?
I may have.
How about you,
I may
Nilay?
have cried.
Have you been waiting for this?
Well, it was announced when I was like 7 years old or something. So I think a lot of things have come and gone. I read somewhere today.
Natalie was very young when this was first announced.
Gran Turismo 1 through 5 came out in the time that this was announced.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long time. The trailer looks amazing, though. I have to say, the trailer looks absolutely fantastic.
I mean,
I have no idea it's going to come out.
There's a little part of me who just enjoyed the Duke Nukem being that joke that we could always
exactly.
keep
you can
going
fall back
because
on
you
that
knew
one
that it was never going to ever be released. That
Yeah,
said,
there was a big feature about a year ago in Wired about it, and they said that mostly it was management issues that were slowing it up, not necessarily technology. So I guess this is indicative that they worked it out. Maybe they took some kind of management seminar to get it up and running.
We obviously have to wait for May 3rd to be sure, but once Duke Nukem Forever ships May 3rd, what takes up the mantle?
Oh, as the next Vapor game?
The next Vapor legend.
That's a good question. Duke Nukem Forever and Ever?
Yes, the next Duke Nukem becomes the next Vaporware immediately.
All our dreams come true. We got the Verizon iPhone and Duke Nukem.
What's going on?
2011. It's a really
I have to
good
say
year.
that Verizon iPhone ad is like maybe the funniest thing I've ever seen.
We'll preview that actually a little later in the show, but I want to hear your thoughts on that when we get there. Real quickly, I want to thank Ford for their coverage, for helping us bring coverage of CES 2011 earlier this month, and for sponsoring Tech News Today. They introduced earlier this month the all-new 2012 Ford Focus Electric with voice-activated sync and My Ford Touch. It is an all-electric vehicle. There's no gas engine in there, powered by a lithium-ion battery with high voltage capacity, recharged by plugging into an electric outlet, either a 120-volt outlet or the 240-volt outlet upgrade with electric vehicle supply equipment. Has regenerative braking, battery management, and provides enough power between charges for most work commutes, and just all the things you need to do when you're getting around town. It may even be cheaper to run than gas, depending on where you live, depending on the gas prices and and when you charge it. If you charge it overnight, you may save money. The all-new 2012 Ford Focus Electric features sync with My Ford Touch. It responds to voice commands and touch controls, seamlessly switches from one to the other when you move from that center console to talking to your car like Kit in Knight Rider. And in the Ford Focus Electric, it not only responds to entertainment, climate control, phone, and navigation to keep your eyes on the road and hands on the wheel, but it also responds to battery management, so you can check up on your battery. Sync understands more than 10,000 voice commands in total. To learn more, visit focuselectricpower.com, and we thank Ford for their support of Tech News Today. Mozilla is blocking Skype.
Why? Why would Mozilla do something like that? Skype is so beloved.
A Skype add-on. Mozilla announced yesterday it will block the Skype toolbar. Now, this is interesting in a lot of different ways. Here's what's going on. The Skype toolbar add-on is automatically installed into Firefox when you install Skype these days.
So you have no
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
me
I hate
too.
that kind of stuff too. I don't like having something installed automatically. I like to actually
let me
opt
check the
in.
box.
Exactly.
If I'm interested in that sort of
But
thing.
to add insult to injury, Mozilla claims that this has been crashing Firefox right and left. There's some bug in the code. It's not working. They've tried since November to get in touch with Skype and work this out. They haven't been able to do that. And after 33,000 Firefox crashes last week attributable to the add-on, Mozilla is actually reaching out and turning off the add-on through the internet.
Because they can't get anybody at Skype just to say, we hear you, very good, interesting data, let's work together. I mean, I'm sure Skype is working on all sorts of cool features for some next version, but come on. There are a lot of Firefox users out there.
Kind of a popular browser. How about fix this together. But Firefox is not usually interested in things like this or not Firefox, rather Skype, in things that make them so that they can't just automatically be on your machine. Like one of my biggest defaults problems with Skype is that when you download it, then it automatically opens on your computer when you launch your computer, and that's not okay. It doesn't even, I mean, that's your default. And little things like that just are indicative of the fact that Skype it's like your annoying friend who's always like popping up like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to hang out?
Which is actually literally my experience with Skype, right? When I have it open.
You get calls from annoying friends?
Yeah. I mean, because, people know I have it open. I try to keep it secret, but people have figured out that even though I'm offline, I'm still online. So I get lots of little pop-ups. And, I really don't like video calling. I'm like one of the many, many people in the world who don't like video calling.
Well, thank you for doing it for us.
Oh, no, that's fine. I'm actually in somebody else's much nicer home. I left mine.
Put on a tie and everything. We really appreciate that.
Do it for you. Well, I'm not wearing any pants.
Neither are we.
I mean,
yeah, it's Friday.
It's
Friday. So
I assure you. Although tie and no pants is my favorite way to get through a Friday.
Yeah.
No, but this never happens to you. People call you, they have their video on. They're like, let me see you. And you're like, no.
Oh, yeah. No, I like to be in control of the video I'm sending out. I don't want to just video chat because you do, dude.
Someone calls you, initiates a video call, and they're just a friend. I'm like, that's kind of rude to just kind of pop into someone's house like that.
Don't presume.
If I'm in a video chat with my baby, and my family or something, or a girlfriend back home in the Bay Area, I'll instant message first, like, hey, can we video chat? But I wouldn't just like pop up on her screen like, here I am.
Now, the add-on was supposed to, in fact, it does, highlight phone numbers when you're in Firefox so that you can click on them and make calls in Skype, which is kind of nifty.
It's kind of nifty, but if you think about, so it's scraping websites that would have phone numbers, so that makes a lot of sense if you're a heavy Skype user. But, I mean, are you really seeing a lot of phone numbers on web pages?
Yes. Why automatically install it? I mean, I know you can uncheck the box when you install it, but you shouldn't have to.
It seems like
it should be something you decide, like, hey, I'm a heavy Skype user. I want to take advantage of that. Now, you can also disable the add-on, which I highly recommend people do. If Mozilla is going to disable it for you. You can re-enable it after Mozilla reaches out and disables it. It's a little disconcerting to think that Mozilla can do this.
Yeah.
Just go turn off your add-ons. But it's probably a good thing in this case. And you should probably turn it off anyway if you did have it in there. The other thing that Firefox is very sensitive about is right now they are in a battle with Chrome and Internet Explorer 9 and Safari and Opera over performance.
Right.
So if a lot of people are saying, yeah, I don't use Firefox anymore, it just crashes on me all the time, and it turns out it's this automatically installed Skype thing, which a lot of people install Skype even if they don't use it all the time, that can make them look really bad.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, it is disconcerting that they can turn off something like this, but that the people at Mozilla sat there and went, what do we do, you guys? I mean, people's Firefox browsers are crashing left and right. They don't know why. They just think Firefox sucks. So, we have to stop this, and it's Skype's fault.
Yeah. Another thing that needs to be stopped are content farms on search engines, and Google's Matt Cutts has said, by golly, Google's going to double down and try to stop those spammy results. Google's been criticized for this lately, and Google's response is, okay, yes, a lot of times you'll get content farms when you do searches on Google, but Google searches reveal less than half of these sorts of things than it had 5 years ago. It's just that people are holding us to a higher standard, which is good.
Yes.
So we're going to keep working to try to get rid of them and minimize them as much as possible. They're pushing a Chrome extension, which means you have to use Google Chrome, but it would let you report spam sites. So if you're on a search result and you see one of those content farms, you can use the add-on to report them, and that would help them build a database of what these are crowdsourced.
Now, in theory, I love this idea. I mean, it's like reporting spam in my Gmail, and if enough other people do it too, I'm not going to get that spam again. However, spammers, especially people who want high Google results, spend a lot of time working around these types of things, and I can just see a bunch of spammers getting together and voting to, get rid of some other spammer sites so they get more of the click-throughs when somebody, I don't know, searches for tech news.
So you think they'd game the system?
I think there's a really big potential. If you give somebody a toolbar and say, please help us make this smarter, then the spammers are going to be the ones who have enough time on their hands to game that system.
Go ahead, Nilay.
Well, oh, no, I mean, I'm saying this is, SEO in itself is a game, right? I mean, in a very fundamental level, the idea that Google runs in an algorithm makes it a game. And that's, every SEO guru that emails me telling me that he can increase Engadget's hits, 100 times or something ridiculous. Basically what he's saying is, I know how this algorithm works. So, in the end of the day, no matter how Google changes the algorithm, there are people, this is exactly what you're saying, there are people who are motivated to figure out how it works. And this goes back to sort of Google's not very good at local, Google's not very good at social. I think this is where that really starts to hurt them, because those are the things that make your results better. What are the people around me looking for, and what do they like? What are the people in my network looking for, and what do they like? And that's how you sort of take these automated search results and you make them sort of holistically better. And honestly, I think the leadership change at Google is going to have an effect on this. Sergey Brin yesterday on the call was like, we're only doing a small percentage of the things we could do in social. And I think they're very motivated to sort of start, to compete with Facebook now and to compete with Twitter and real-time search and things like that. So hopefully they get into a little bit more holistic instead of just depending on their algorithm, because someone's always going to figure it out.
The other part of the response that Matt Cutts mentioned was developing an algorithm to ensure that low-quality sites no longer get as high of a ranking. They have algorithms to keep out absolutely, totally spam sites. The problem are the content farms that aren't entirely spam. They're just very low-quality content, and they're kind of useless. So when you click through to them, you get disappointed because there's really nothing there but a bunch of AdSense ads. He also very clearly reiterated that we don't prefer sites that have AdSense over other sites in our algorithm. They're very sensitive to that. But I think that they might have something here if they do the reporting combined with the algorithm, so you get a little bit of both. And I like what you're saying, Nilay, about being able to learn and advance in this stuff that maybe they haven't been so good at recent years.
This is Google's job. They've been the search top dog for a long time now. This is their bread and butter. This is what they do, and they need to do it better.
This is what allows them to make the self-driving cars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Google's results yesterday. It's always crazy when you get Apple results or something. You look at how many iPhones they sell, or how are Mac sales doing? Is the iPad killing the Mac, or whatever nonsense you look at? With Google results, it's like, okay, 97% of this company's revenue is search ads, and that's it. Like there's not, they don't list anything else. Like 97% of our revenue comes from advertising, and most of that is search ads.
And the other's fun money.
Right, and it's like, well, they really have to focus on. You don't screw with that. That's the baby, right? You protect the baby.
Yes, Natali, that's right. You protect the baby.
I know. She's
protecting the baby right now.
Oh.
He woke up during the show, so
we'll go on to the next story. It's official. Online piracy has one real solution, says Ars Technica's Nate Anderson. It's IFPI issuing an annual report on digital music saying 2011 is the year when governments can turn the tide. We've realized it's actually very sensible up until the conclusion. It says we've realized that suing our customers isn't working out so well. We found out that suing in general costs a lot more than it makes us, in response. And none of this seems to be cutting down on piracy. So the solution is to turn to the governments of the world and say, hey, you know what? We're tired of doing this fight anymore. Why don't we just have government step in and fight our business plan battles for us?
Well, the funny thing is that they had always said, it's not about getting the money back. They want to make examples of people. So they don't have the right to make examples of people by throwing them in jail. The government certainly does. So maybe they're thinking that's a better deterrent than just lawsuits that they win eventually, but you're right, it's very expensive, so they want the taxpayers to pay for that, I suppose.
This makes me stabby. That's just the only way I can put it. I don't want to pay tax dollars to this, because there are so many issues and gray areas when people are getting sued for this sort of thing anyway. I just don't want my money going into somebody getting, wrongfully charged $250,000 for something that someone else did on their wireless network.
Yeah.
And can you imagine the way the government, government has so little understanding of the way technology works. So often we see that with child pornography laws that are so outdated that any good child pornographer will know how to get around. So they just wouldn't be able to regulate this in any kind of effective way.
I just find it amusing that big business is always against government regulation until they're not against government regulation because it benefits them. And so the idea of saying, like, you know what, we really need to take the government's enforcement away from real threats like terrorists and mobsters and murderers and devote it towards protecting our business plan. Yeah, piracy is wrong. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that when you download something illegally, it's not stealing. But I think the priorities are out of whack here, and it is the death rattle of an industry that we're hearing here, and this is the sign of it, saying we have nothing left to do but plead for governments to protect us, and that's a very almost medieval way of looking at it. It's I get made fun of for bringing up mercantilism when we have these conversations, but it's essentially the same thing, which is, help me protect my borders and fake up an economy for me because I can't actually compete in the marketplace as it exists right now.
Can I be the, I completely agree with you, but I can definitely make the contrary argument.
Sure, please do. Somebody needs to.
I mean, this is like, there's two things at play here. One, governments do prosecute, infringements upon and trespass upon private property all the time, right? I mean, if I break into your house, I've committed a criminal act, and the government will spend taxpayer money to prosecute me, right? And big content really wants there to be in everyone's mind a one-to-one relationship between physical property and intellectual property. And that's an abstraction that may or may not exist, but that's what they want. They want you to think of intellectual property as physical property. And if you take it from them, you should be subject to all the same rules as if you take a real book, a physical book. And so, I mean, that's their argument. And that argument is stretched on forever. I think it's bad for them to say intellectual property is the same as digital property, but that's what they're going with. And I think the second one, and I think this is the more important argument, is that, for intellectual property to have value, it does need to be scarce in some way. Everything can't be free all the time, right? This show costs money to produce. You have to pay the people who produce it. You should pay me. So I'm going to quit right after none of this. But no, I mean, it costs money to produce. It costs money to make. If you just gave it away for free or gave it away without ads or let everybody distribute it without any thought of where it was going or how it was being used, you wouldn't be able to make it. You wouldn't be able to make high quality content or high quality intellectual property. And so when you say it's the death rattle, I think what you're seeing is people who only have one conception of how to make this stuff scarce, of how to make it limited in distribution. And obviously there are other ways to do that, but this is how they know how to do it. And I think what we're seeing is not the death rattle of an industry. We're seeing a death rattle of this model. And I think that's actually the really important point here is that, maybe there's a different way to create scarcity of intellectual property than to just say, we're the ones who control the distribution. I have no idea what that is. If I did, I'd be very, very wealthy. Yeah, right. And I'd be on a boat.
Or you'd at least be on a lecture circuit.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. I read a lot about it, and I think every idea is half right. But I think we're getting there. And I think, saying the government needs to step up its enforcement. Well, there already is enforcement. I mean, there is criminal liability for copyright infringement in this country.
It's kind of like a company, actually.
It's a lot like a company. I mean, but there is. I mean, it exists. So I mean, what they're arguing for is, more enforcement, which in a lot of ways is the death rattle of, any sort of law that isn't working. Is we don't need better laws. We need stricter enforcement of the existing ones.
I agree with you entirely. I think that's a great clarification. It's not the death rattle of an industry because that implies that no one will ever make any more music. It's the death rattle of a business plan and a particular segment of the industry that has dominated it up to now. Real quickly, AT&T may implement speed and data tiers when they launch their LTE service next year. Boy Genius Report saying they have a source that AT&T will offer not only data plans with caps, which we're starting to get used to. It's like, oh, you get a 5 gigabyte data plan or a 10 gigabyte data plan or whatever. But they'll also launch speed restrictions as well. So you have to pick how much data you're going to use and how fast you would like to use it at.
Sounds confusing. They also mentioned that they'll offer an ability to, let's say that you only needed 10 days of the higher speed out of a month.
Right, you could get top-up sessions and speed-up sessions.
And I sat there for a while thinking, okay, let me think of a situation where I would want this. I mean, I guess if you were going to download some video on your mobile device and you didn't do that regularly, that wasn't part of your regular routine, but you were going to go on a trip or something. I mean, it sounds complicated to me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad. It's just
Well, we don't even know if it's true. It's a Boy Genius report. Sourced, unsourced. They don't mention the source. It's just say that they have it on very good authority. So we'll see what it's like. But definitely, it's another indication that the carriers are sort of scrambling about trying to figure out the model for how to charge for bits. And a lot of the things we were just talking about in regards to the music industry sort of apply to this as well.
I also feel like, I mean, shouldn't you be able to cap us on speed and data? Can't you just choose one or the other? I mean, the data I kind of get. You know, the speed I kind of get. But both?
Well, yeah, up to this point, getting any speed out of the carrier has been a problem. Right. So, like, it's almost insulting to say, like, oh, you're not paying for that,
yeah,
so we're going to
slow you down.
Yeah, I mean,
as a customer of AT&T, this is all just a big joke.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. It's hard to if you have a big data plan, but then you don't get the biggest speed plan.
Well, yeah.
And you're still suffering.
You're not going to be able to use it because you're not going fast enough to download anything. All right, let's take a quick break. Thank our sponsor, MailRoute. If you'd like to get rid of some spam, MailRoute will protect you from that and viruses. Simplify your life, make your email usable again. You just need to be able to edit your MX record or have someone edit it for you. And then whether you're one person or a company of 50,000, you can really reduce the load of spam on your servers. And if you're a business, that can be a huge cost. Check it out. Try it out for free and see if it works for you. It has worked for me, so all I can say is try it out. Mailroute.info. Sign up as a TWiT listener. You'll receive 10% off the life of your account. Small business accounts start at $2 per user per month for 10 users. And because of demand from the TWiT Army, they offer an individual user a $30 per user per year account as well. Visit mailroute.info and give it a try. Time now for the news fuse.
Best one ever.
The new reaction to hackers is to embrace them. Well, dev hackers anyway. Ryan Winzen is a mod maker who was happily working on a StarCraft 2 modification called World of StarCraft until Blizzard had the game removed from YouTube and caused quite a controversy in the StarCraft community. Winzen pleaded with Blizzard to let him continue to work on the game with that title, and Blizzard has reached out to Winzen to offer him a tour of their facilities while encouraging him to continue to work on the mod. We don't know if he'll get to keep the name or not.
He probably won't.
But he gets to go work inside Blizzard, so he'll let them do whatever.
Happier. Yeah, exactly. I'll call it something else. This is great. Xbmc, the media center app that powers the Boxee software, now runs on the Apple A4 chip. So what does that mean? Well, that means that with a little jailbreaking, you can now install on new Apple TVs, iPad, or iPhone, which allows you to share videos all around your home network and watch them on whatever Apple device you prefer. And if you're interested in what I just said, go to xbmc.org for all the details. Who wouldn't be interested in that? Sounds fun.
No, I love Xbmc. It's great.
All right.
But why would you? I have a question. Why would you do that? I mean, that's a lot of work, right?
Instead of Boxee.
Instead of buying the Boxee box, which I mean, they're different. I mean, they are very different.
Not everyone has $200 like you, Nilay. Yeah. I lay in a bed of money, Patel.
I lay in a bed of $200, Patel. I actually only have the $200. Like
They're all singles, so that you could stretch them out into a bed.
Exactly.
And rub them adoringly on your face. Okay,
yes.
Mobile email is growing in popularity while the use of web-based email seems to be waning. Big shock, according to a new study by ComScore. Looking back at November, ComScore found that the number of people sending email via a dedicated client on a mobile device was up 36% from the previous November. Over the same period, the number of visitors to web-based email sites fell by 6%.
Motorola has also learned the lesson of being nice to developers. Motorola published a clarification to its bootloader policy on Facebook, apologizing for the feedback that we mentioned yesterday. That was the one from a mod who said essentially, if you don't like that we don't allow bootloaders, go somewhere else, buy some other machine. We don't care. Motorola also stated they are working with partners to offer bootloader solutions for devs. They did not say if they fired the person who said go elsewhere.
Microsoft has been nice to devs as of late, taking Windows Phone hackers onto the Microsoft campus and offering them free phones, which is very nice. But let's see how far their patience can be tested, because developer Julian Shopman, speaking to blog Win Rumors, outlined his plans to release a Windows Phone 7 device manager that'll let users do things like sideload applications, explore the phone's file system, and custom ringtones, and manage applications. I can see Microsoft saying, "Hey, give me that phone back.
You want a phone? Free phone again?
Yeah.
You want everybody
You're
wants
not
a free
welcome
phone.
here. Get out of here."
Yeah.
They gave one to GeoHot too, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is very much, Microsoft, they really want to attract developers to their platform by any means possible. And they did it in the early stages by paying developers to write apps, so there would be apps at launch. And I think now they realized, they occupy a very strange place between Apple and Google in the ecosystem, where Apple hates this stuff. Google, they say they love it, even though you have to download all these crazy mods. So I think they want to be seen as like the super hacker friendly. They want to go one step beyond Google and say, we're bringing you onto our campus. We want you to do whatever you want to the phone that you can, but we're going to make some rules for you that we won't tell anybody else. Because that's really what they're doing. They say, let's find a constructive solution for homebrew, which means Microsoft's going to make some rules, and then the homebrew guys are going to like play by them, which
good
is
time,
kind of strange.
Good time to be a dev.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, HTC's money prospects are still going up and up and up. The company reports a 160% rise in profits year over year and a 31% increase over Q3 of 2010. Company CEO Peter Chow insists that it will remain a double digit through 2011. He also admits that HTC has a tablet in the works, though they don't plan to rush into it. There goes the HTC tablet beats Playbook rumors. Sorry.
If HTC would be Playboy, that would be a whole different thing. According to a very reliable source quoted by PS3 Sense, Sony is attempting to address the problem caused by the hacking of its PS3 by looking to what PC games do to protect themselves. Allegedly, Sony's considering adding serial keys to PS3 games that you would get to joyously enter by using your PS3's on-screen keyboard. And if you've ever seen those keys on the PCs, they're like, 30 characters long. So that won't dampen your enthusiasm.
I feel about like reliable sources should now be categorized like Starbucks categorizes their sizes. Like, is it like a grande reliable source?
Or is it a Trenta?
Or is it a Trenta reliable source? The 10-inch Android 3.0 tablet Toshiba showed off at CES still doesn't have a name, but it does have a website. So the site adds a little new information, touting a Tegra 2 processor, replaceable battery, and a 1280 by 800 resolution. You can take the pretty snappy flash-based tour yourself if you're interested at www.thetoshibatablet.com. I wonder what it's going to be. How hard is it to name a tablet?
Yeah, I know. They're the opposite of most people, where they've showed off the tablet. They just don't have a name.
I thought that was the name, the Toshiba tablet. Why does it need another name?
Better not
Maybe
be the name.
That should be the name. Just
the
call
Toshiba tablet.
How about it just is what it is?
Actually, the Toshiba tablet is the Triple T.
The Triple T?
Yeah.
There we go.
There you
Named
go.
it for you.
CTs, which is slang for something actually that you wouldn't want your gadget.
Don't name it that, Toshiba.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I've been giggling quietly to myself for a while now. That's all. Just a lot of tease there.
All right. Another virus that uses Google's URL shortener to hide itself is spreading around Twitter, posing as an antivirus software. Avoid posts ending with m28sx.html. Clicking on that link will take you to a page that pretends to sell security software and services. It does not. Once you download it, the virus then posts a tweet under the user's account with the link in an attempt to infect other followers. Shady.
All right, Nilay made allusion to this earlier in the show, but Verizon's got their iPhone ad up and ready for folks to watch. So let's take a look. What have they got in store? Is it dancing music? It's clocks.
Ooh.
And a deep pat.
210.
It's a lot of clocks.
I don't understand why they're all going off at the same time, actually. I've been wondering.
Yeah, they're all different times, right?
Well, because different times around the world.
Yeah, but they're not even like
Millions of customers
the same
Verizon's
minutes.
in the United States.
who never stop believing that
There
this
isn't
day would
somebody in
come.
like Japan waiting for the Verizon iPhone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh, that part's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you find that hilarious, Nilay?
I did. I mean, it's a great ad. It's one of those ads. The number one question I always get is, when is the iPhone coming to Verizon? And now I finally have an answer. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because that's what people want. I do think it's hilarious because it's like Verizon is admitting that what people have really been wanting is the iPhone, and not, you know, the robot droid phones that will, you know, both check your email and like murder your family. Because that, you know, that whole set of ads is about how crappy the iPhone is. And now it's like, oh, we have it. Thank you. You know, it's like, oh, yeah. All right, then.
I also find it funny when commercials play into the conversation that only tech geeks have. Like, finally, it's an open operating system. And, you know, who cares except us?
Right.
That's the kind of thing that I don't understand.
They did sell a lot of droids, though. You got to give them that. So maybe they know something.
I feel like somebody who made the commercial just had access to a lot of different kinds of clocks.
Like, you know, I got this great clock
In
collection.
some prop room somewhere and was like, I've got it. It's going to be so artsy.
Also released today is Wayback Machine's. Well, I don't know if it's released today, but I'm finding it for the first time today. It was reported on Boing Boing. Wayback Machine has a beta out, which, if you don't know the Wayback Machine, it's awesome. You type in a URL and you could look at any version of it going back in time as far as they've captured it. So you can see the Yahoo homepage from like the late 90s and all that kind of stuff. They've created a beta that now has a little toolbar at the top, so that on the video version, we're showing my site, subrilliant.com, circa 1998. But don't look at that. Look at the toolbar along the top, and you can see, you can jump to any point along the timeline and see, you know, what the site looks like at this particular point in time, what this site looks like in another point in time.
Your old English phase.
Yes. That's actually the current phase.
I like it a lot.
Yes, thank you. I can tell.
Shall we move on to the calendar?
Yes, let's do.
The Sony Reader app is finally available for Android. Only works with Android 2.2 or higher, though, so keep that in mind. Samsung Vibrance Android 2.2 update is now available. It's not over the air, though. It's tethered, and you got to use Samsung's Keys Mini PC app. So that's the trade-off.
Gotta be tethered. Boo.
Sprint Premier is getting a new premium tier on April 1st, although many customers won't get early upgrades, apparently. And Tesla confirms plans to unveil the electric Model X SUV this year. And if you're one of those people who always thinks that Tesla is a great idea for really rich CEOs, they're also planning to release a sub-30K car by 2015.
All right.
So, okay.
Little people.
Yeah.
That's for people who the $30,000 is cheap. Right?
Well, $30,000 is cheaper than $120,000.
Than 90 or 120. Yeah, exactly. All right, Natalie, I know we got to let you go. So thank you so much for being on Tech News today. Let people know where they can find Loaded and the other stuff you do.
Yeah, Loaded is the marquee thing that I do. It's cnet.com/loaded. And, of course, you can follow me on Twitter if you want, Natalie Morris. All one word. No E.
No E. That's right. Natali. I almost misspelled it. Thank you, Natalie. It's great having you on the show.
Thank you.
Good to ECU.
Yes.
Good to ECU too.
Exactly.
Okay, have a good
EC2U.
weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
On to our voicemail. We got one today that suggests a better way to get a pentalobe screwdriver than pay an iFixit for it, which is a pretty good alternative, but I think his is even better.
Justin Lowmaster here from thespaceturtle.com with an idea for dealing with the pentalobe screws. It's freebie for whoever wants to do it. Just get in your 3D modeling program like Blender, which is free. Make a shape for the pentalobe screw that is watertight, and send it over to shapeways.com, where they will make a 3D printed model of your pentalobe screwdriver. There you go. Now you can get your own pentalobe screwdriver without having to go buy one from someone else. You just make one yourself.
That's freaking brilliant.
Is that something you're actually going to do?
No.
But it's good to know that we can.
Yeah, it's good to know that it's an option.
Right.
Exactly. I'd say plenty of people in our audience will do that.
Totally.
You download Blender; it's absolutely free. And if you have a MakerBot friend,
There you go.
you
That's
could
all
even
you need,
jump
right?
the line and have them printed for you. On to the emails, TNT@twit.tv. Reggie says, I don't think Apple is using pentalobe screws to stop tinkerers, but to identify them. If Apple is going to offer warranty and Genius Bar support for their devices, it's in their best interest to make sure that the problem with the device was not caused by hacking. With standard screws, anyone can tinker with their phone, replace parts, and if they cause a problem, put everything back the way it was, and Apple wouldn't know that the user did anything. This way, you can still open the case of the phone, but Apple will know it. You can't pretend that you didn't void your warranty if you did.
I have to say, this controversy about these screws is the silliest thing I've ever heard.
But they replace your screws.
I mean, it's like, well, I got my phone fixed the day before CES. I shattered the back because I dropped it like 20 feet onto concrete. I was lucky it was just back, but I got regular screws. I got regular Torx screws. And on top of that, it's like you can buy every part of the iPhone. You can buy a white iPhone. You can buy the screen. You can buy the battery. Why doesn't anybody think you're going to be able to buy this screwdriver like tomorrow? There's like 50 factories in China cranking this thing out right now.
You'll be able to buy pentalobe screwdrivers very soon. But all Apple did was create a market for pentalobe screwdrivers. You're absolutely right.
Like, now everybody knows this word. That's what happened. That's the result of this story is I know the word pentalobe.
It's Phillips, flathead, pentalobe.
Torx.
Which one? Which one do you need? I got them all.
It's like, have you ever looked at a Nintendo console? They all use crazy proprietary screws. I mean, this is like Apple's story at its finest.
But up till now, my ThinkGeek 150-part multi-tool could open all of them, but I can't open this one. That's what's causing the controversy.
That's true. That's annoying. I should get one of those. Do they make? I need 150. I'm gonna wait for the 151.
Yeah,
I think
if they don't, consider this a charge for you, ThinkGeek.
I'm also starting like a nerd Satan rock band called Pentalobe. So anybody wants to be in that one
with people with really big ears.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, moving on to the next email. This one's from Greg in D.C. Hi, Greg. He says, TNT, maybe this isn't your usual beat, but perhaps of interest. Dwarfing, at least in terms of game credibility, the already very impressive acquisition of New Toy, which is the studio responsible for Words with Friends and We Roll. You may have heard of those. They're somewhat popular. Zynga just nabbed a very big fish, indie darling, and Drop 7 developer Area Code. When Zynga eventually rules the world, which they will for good or evil, today will be remembered as the day that the game industry stopped sneering and started sending their resumes. Give me credit when it comes true.
There you go. Greg in D.C. calls it. Today is the day that Zynga begins taking it. Today is the beginning of the rest of their lives of dominance over us all.
Well, Zynga, I mean, we've talked about it before. They employ more people in the city and county of San Francisco than any other company.
Yeah. So I think we should all go work for Zynga. Actually, we all suddenly do. Be careful. Look at your paycheck next time. Might be coming from Zynga.
They may have acquired
it. You just never know. Nilay Patel, a pleasure as always. Thanks for taking the time to come on the show with us today.
Thanks, Nilay.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. I know I was annoying, but
No, you weren't. You were very smart and thoughtful.
If you're annoying,
well-dressed.
You're annoy-informative.
Didn't wear pants. He's the perfect man.
I like it. I'm the perfect Skype-in guest. No pants, but informative. I like it. Thank you for having me, guys.
No pants required. And let folks know where they can find your stuff online.
We're at Engadget. I'm actually, I just wrapped in the background here a new post on the Android stuff, so look for that sort of the next hour or so.
Excellent. Sarah Lane, thank you as well.
You're welcome, Tom.
TWiT.tv/TNT is the place to find our show's website. You can link to our wiki, has all of our show notes with links to everything we talk about in the show. You can also email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call, 260-TNT-SHOW. That's our phone number. We'll see you Monday.